Jeff the Landshark, the cutest and one of the most fun strategists in the game. He has decent healing and great survivability in Fin mode. The ultimate is an evil thing that can heal your teammates and chuck your opponents out of the map, or at least far from the objective. Lastly, you can spit your enemies into submission if your aim is good enough, which is not an easy thing to do. That is why I want to share with you how I am playing Jeff, how I like to use his kit, and some things I'm hoping to learn as I continue to play the game. So, let's start by breaking down his kit. We start with his passive, Oblivious Cuteness. It reduces critical hit damage by 50%, so that whereas you normally get a ×2 damage multiplier, it now gets a 1.5 damage multiplier. It almost does nothing when you get headshotted up close, but it does a lot of work at longer ranges once damage falloff starts to doing its thing. His primary fire is Joyful Splash, which hoses you down to heal you at a rate of 150 HP per second. It has absurd range, being able to heal from as far as 100 meters. No idea how valuable that information might be, but at least it lets you know that you can heal from safe locations. It also lets you heal multiple teammates as the string goes right through them. Then we go to the best thing ever, the Aqua Burst, where he basically spits water at enemies, hitting them for 25 points of damage on impact, with a 3-meter AoE damage tick of 40. What makes this great is that it grants Jeff the most damage per projectile of all strategists, since you get 65 damage per shot when you get direct hits. You can crit with it, but it doesn't matter when you have 0 damage falloff for landing your shots. The AoE segment of the damage have damage falloff the farther you get from the point of impact, but is 50% at 3 meters, so you still have a respectable 20 points of damage that can be shared with any opposing player that are in its radius. Hide and Seek is your survival tool. Once active, it buries you underground and it lets you crawl on walls. It also reduces your hitbox by a lot. It also grants you a 60% bonus movement speed as well as a healing passive of 25 HP per second. This is your bread and butter to stay alive. You get dived or otherwise in trouble, dive to the floor and get the hell out of dodge. They start following you, curl up the walls and out of trouble with relative ease. Every escape is awesome and lets you reliably regroup with your team relatively easily. We finally have the Healing Bubble, which as the name suggests is Jeff shooting bubbles that can stick around for 3 minutes. Touch the bubble to get healed by 85 HP, get a 60% speed boost for 4 seconds, as well as a 15% healing boost. It also has the bonus feature of knocking back enemies near you when they are picked up, which is great when you want to enable a quick getaway or just be annoying on point. Lastly, we go to the most evil ultimate ever. It's Jeff! You get a big AoE marker that once triggered will swallow both enemies and allies hit. Once swallowed, you automatically go into hide and seek with all the benefit that it provides, letting you swiftly move around while being kinda hard to kill, as most likely you're searching for spots to throw your enemies out of the map. Swallowed allies are healed at a rate of 225 HP per second, while enemies take damage at a rate of 25 HP per second. This ultimate has a lot of offensive and defensive potential, and learning when to use it has been incredibly enjoyable. Just don't miss, since not hitting anybody makes Jeff sulk like an idiot in the middle of the enemy team, which more often than not very easily warps you to spawn point. Now we go to the part where we see how I play Jeff. We start with the positioning that I use, which is to be at the back of the team as often as possible. This helps a lot for healing since you are going to be mostly hosing down your teammates that are in front of you. It also lets you use the healing bubble defensively since it actually has travel time and can be shot at your allies for a quick burst of healing. The healing bonus the bubble grants also amplifies all other sources of healing, so it helps you to better keep the team alive with your Joyful Splash. The somewhat bird's eye view of the combat also lets you watch out for any Anks, Squids, Loki's clones, and anything else that the opposing team might place around the map. A word of caution though, the stream of your Joyful Splash might go through allies but is easily obstructed by terrain, and especially Groot walls. So there will be a lot of times when being among the mess of combat is how you can be a more effective Jeff. When that happens, sticking to the group that happens to be in your team is a good idea since you can make the most out of the team up ability, which gives you a 35% damage reduction as long as you are on group's shoulders. It also gives you a better angle to hit your allies since it will be easier to go around the walls being placed. Otherwise, try to help your vanguards or your diving duelists as much as possible since they will most likely be helping you in staying alive throughout the mess of combat. Regardless of what range you decide to play in, remember to practice your situational awareness. The healing Jeff gives might not be as widespread as other strategies, but combining Healing Bubble and Joy's Splash give you strong enough healing that can help your team survive some tick damage ultimates, like the currently bugged Moon Knight ultimate. So save your bubbles and hope you don't have to reload as soon as you hear an ultimate go off. We continue with the playstyle I like to use as I play Jeff, which is to be mildly passive. Somewhat like Rocket, his healing turns off his damage. Just reload interrupt both Joyful Splash and Aqua Burst, so you have a small judgment call to make every engagement as to when to heal and when to deal damage. So even though I would very much like to make the most out of the damage he can bring to the table, it is somewhat hard to do so when reloading can force some of your teammates back to the spawn point. Regardless, there are good moments to go aggressive, which will be of great help to the team. Jeff is more helpful taking down in placement like Punisher turrets, Loki clones, Narmore squids, and Moon Knight Angst due to the high damage of Aqua Burst. As an example, if you spot Loki clones with the runes active, target their heads so as to damage both the clones and the runes. Taking those down quickly is of great help to diminish the damage and healing a Loki can provide, as well as removing their swapping opportunities. Another golden opportunity of damage is when you find grouped up opponents, since the AoE damage of Aqua Burst can quickly pile up and maybe force them to split up. It's even better when you have this Frozen Spitball ability granted by a fellow Luna Snow, which gives a small bump to your projectile damage, but also leaves behind a frozen bit of floor that slows down for 15%, which can help your team land those shots. Now we've spoken a lot about most of his kit, but what about his ultimate? It's Jeff! Is very useful, but not as easy to land as it once was. Not only was it adjusted to not catch airborne opponents so easily, but people are constantly learning ways to avoid it the more they play against it. So, in my opinion, this is not an ultimate I would throw around purely for offensive purposes. I'm getting better results with it by using it as a response to other ultimates, like the invisible boundary of Invisible Woman. People would naturally group up inside the pillar, so it makes it a tad easier to hit some opponents. And I haven't had the chance yet, but I think I can use Is Jeff to jank people out of Groot's strangling prison with it, so it might be a great tool to get people out of trouble. The general idea is to not treat Jeff's ultimate only as an offensive tool, since it might have some great defensive potential that just need to be tapped into. The last bit I have to talk about is that Jeff has the capacity to just be very annoying. He can shift between being somewhat hard to kill thanks to Healing Bubble and Hide and Seek, to be somewhat of an anti-dive character since Aqua Burst can compete with the damage of the likes of Black Panther and Wolverine. Landing your shots and some healing bubbles at the right time, and you can have them slipping with the fishes in no time at all. Otherwise, you can use your survivability to distract the opposing team for a decent bit of time while your team regroups. Combine that with some map awareness and you might survive being a distraction long enough to meet up with your team. While risky, it can be satisfying to pull off, and I think this aspect adds a lot of fun to playing Jeff. So in general, Jeff is a very fun hero to play that can be of great benefit to any team composition. He has great survivability, great healing, and a very strong offense that rewards good aim. So if you're looking to learn a strategist, don't shy away from Jeff, as you can have a lot of fun with him as you play Marvel Rivals. And that's it for Jeff the Landshark. Like, subscribe, and hit that notification bell to be alerted as to when the next video drops. Thank you all for watching, and take care.